You know what's strange? Some of the most intelligent, emotionally aware people you will ever meet are also some of the most exhausted. Not from doing too much, but from thinking too much. They replay conversations that ended hours ago. They map out scenarios that will never happen. They lie awake at 2 in the morning, not because something went wrong, but because their brain refuses to stop asking, what if? Today we're exploring what's really happening inside the minds of people who think too much. And more importantly, what it reveals about who they are. Psychologists have a name for this. It's called maladaptive rumination. Rumination means your mind circles back to the same thoughts repeatedly, especially around uncertainty, past events, or social moments. Here's what's fascinating. Research from Yale University and the University of Michigan shows that people who ruminate aren't weak. They're not anxious in the traditional sense. In many cases, their brain is exceptionally good at pattern recognition. It's always scanning, always processing, always looking for meaning. The problem isn't the intelligence. The problem is that the system never gets a signal to stop. It just keeps going. Let's look at what's happening in the brain. There's a structure called the prefrontal cortex. This is responsible for planning, analysis, and self-reflection. In overthinkers, this region stays highly active even during rest. While other people's brains shut down, yours keeps running. Meanwhile, there's another system called the default mode network. This is your brain's background processor, and in overthinkers, it constantly generates internal monologue. The result is a mind that's essentially always online, always auditing, always preparing for what comes next. Your brain is trying to protect you. But here's the real question. Protect you from what? That's where the story gets interesting. This pattern usually doesn't start in adulthood. For most overthinkers, it begins in childhood, often in environments where outcomes felt unpredictable, where moods shifted without warning, where mistakes had bigger consequences than they should have. Imagine you're a child. A parent is angry, but you don't know why, so you start analyzing. You predict what might trigger them. You become hypervigilant. Or maybe you made a small mistake and the reaction was disproportionate. So you learn. Think ahead. Anticipate everything. Your young brain develops a logical survival strategy. If you can predict what's coming, maybe you can protect yourself. This is actually brilliant adaptation. Your nervous system learned to keep you safe. The problem is you're not a child anymore, but the system is still running the same program. Not all overthinking is the same. There's reflective rumination, where you turn inward to understand yourself, to process emotions, to make sense of the world. This version, when balanced, is actually a strength. But there's another type, brooding rumination. This is dwelling on problems without moving toward any resolution. This is where overthinking costs you. Sleep quality suffers. Decision paralysis sets in. Social anxiety builds. Most overthinkers oscillate between both. A moment of reflection can slide invisibly into a spiral. And because the thinking feels productive, it's hard to notice when you've crossed from processing to just ruminating. Here's something crucial to understand. Your brain gets rewarded for thinking. Your brain releases dopamine during problem solving, not when you solve it, during the thinking itself. So when you run through a scenario, analyzing every angle, your brain is being rewarded just for the activity, not for arriving at an answer. This is why willpower alone doesn't work. The brain has a chemical incentive to keep thinking. Understanding this changes everything. Because now you know it's not about having more willpower. It's about understanding the system and working with it differently. So what does overthinking reveal about a person? A 2013 study in Psychological Science found something remarkable. People who ruminate scored significantly higher on cognitive empathy. That's the ability to understand and anticipate how others think and feel. Overthinkers are more sensitive to social nuance. more aware of how words land, more attuned to the unspoken emotional texture of a room. The very engine that makes overthinking exhausting is also what makes these people remarkably perceptive. They're the ones who remember what you said offhand, who notice when you're having a bad day, who understand the complicated feelings you can't articulate. But here's the tension. Perception without resolution is exhausting because the mind cannot think its way out of every problem. Some things have to be felt, decided, released, not solved. Therapists working with overthinkers don't try to stop the thoughts. That won't work. Instead, they focus on changing your relationship to the thoughts. One approach is called cognitive diffusion. It's observing thoughts without fusing with them. Notice the thought, but don't become the thought. Instead of "this situation is dangerous and I need to figure it out," the reframe becomes "my brain is generating a concern right now." One pulls you in, the other gives you distance. Another technique is mindfulness. Simply noticing thoughts as they arise without judgment. When a worry thought comes, you notice it like a cloud passing through the sky and you let it continue on. The goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to stop being controlled by the thinking. Overthinking is not a personality defect. It is not evidence of weakness or instability. It is a highly active mind that learned to stay alert in a world that once felt uncertain. The challenge isn't to eliminate thinking, it's to teach that mind, gently and with patience, that it is finally safe enough to rest, that you don't need constant vigilance anymore. Your brain can develop new patterns. Neuroplasticity means change is possible, but it takes understanding, compassion, and practice. We all carry cognitive patterns shaped by experiences we didn't choose. But the moment you understand them is the moment they start losing power. And sometimes, that understanding is exactly where change begins. So if you're someone who overthinks, if you saw yourself in these words, that's not a flaw. It's a sign you're aware, perceptive, deeply human. You don't need to silence that part of you. You just need to learn how to guide it so it works for you, not against you. And that's completely possible. This is what Mind Untold is all about, exploring the thoughts we rarely say out loud, and helping you make sense of the patterns quietly shaping your life. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it. Because somewhere right now, someone is lying awake, replaying a moment from hours ago, and they need to know they're not alone. Subscribe to Mind Untold for more insights like this, and thank you for watching.